Well, welcome everyone. Go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. My name is Jenica Bisbee. I'm Organizational Advancement Manager here at California for the Arts. We also wanted to acknowledge the Indigenous land where we reside. So if you want to do that as well as you introduce yourselves, that's fantastic. And just an FYI, this event is being recorded, and we'll definitely be sharing all of these resources, slides, the recording with you after as a follow-up email. So, all right, just some quick Zoom tips. If you want to see some captions as you're viewing our presentation, you can go ahead and click the CC down below and get your settings set up. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in. We have certain points in our presentation where we're answering questions, so we may hold your questions until that point too. But we'll do our best to answer as we can throughout. If you have any comments, feel free to put those in the comments as well. All right, as you know, we run two different organizations, our small but mighty team. We have California Arts Advocates, our lobbying organization, and we advocate for public policy and public investment with the arts. And then also California for the Arts, established in 2007. We do statewide programming, we provide services, and we facilitate advocacy networks throughout California, and you can learn more at our websites over there. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. We did our welcome already. We're going to talk about arts advocacy in California. Tracy, our Director of Policy and Advocacy, is going to talk about context and our policy priorities for the year. We're going to give you some resources. We're also, if you want to stay after, we're going to also talk about Arts Advocacy Day and more in depth and providing more resources there too. Right, and our presenters. So Tracy Hudak, Director of Policy and Advocacy. Our partner, Abe Flores, Deputy Director at Creative California. Thanks so much for joining us. And we have Jen Kuo, our Special Projects Consultant. And we also have our amazing intern, Charlie, who's going to be helping us on day of. So you'll meet her too. And now for a message from Julie.
Advocates, friends, Julie Baker, CEO of California for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. And I'm so sorry I'm not with you today. You're in excellent hands with the whole team here. And I just want to say from my heart and all the hearts that I carry here that we are so grateful for you showing up in arts advocacy, cultural policy development, and making your voices heard. It really, truly makes a difference. Talk to your legislators, let them know how important it is to resource arts and culture, not just for artists, not just for cultural bearers, not just for nonprofits, but for the whole community to benefit from the work that you do. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on Arts Advocacy Day, April 21st in Sacramento.
Thanks, Julie. And now we're going to have Tracy take it away.
Thanks, everyone. Happy April 1st and Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, or ACCM, for folks who are new to us. Just a quick context for the celebration. Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month is a month-long celebration of the arts held every April since 2019. The state of California recognizes Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month with an official resolution, and cities and counties across the state honor it with local proclamations and community celebrations. And the goal of Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month is to increase visibility and awareness of our sector's value, empower arts advocates to engage elected officials, and promote greater investment in our industry and workforce. This is achieved through several signature programs through the month. Next slide, please. The annual California Arts and Culture Summit. It's a confluence of artists, culture workers, and policymakers that come to Sacramento on April 19th and 20th this year, all united by a shared vision to connect, relate, create a space of belonging, learning, and inspiration. Next slide, please. And Arts Advocacy Day. April is also critical budget negotiation month, so this is why for ACCM we engage advocates across the state in connecting with lawmakers. Arts Advocacy Day follows the summit at the Capitol with a rally, a musical parade, and then sitting down with lawmakers and talking turkey, essentially. So, next slide, please. And we'll get into those policies in this session. And then the other feature of ACCM are the toolkits and trainings that we offer. These are designed to support grassroots civic engagement and public awareness campaigns, activate communities to get involved in state advocacy. And the ACCM webpage, which we're going to share in the chat, has all the resources and links to the toolkits and the webinars. But I really wanted to highlight today the Amplify ACCM Media Toolkit helps organizations and artists and advocates amplify a unified statewide message through social media campaigns, social media graphics, and op-eds and press releases, etc. So it's really stimulating the conversation. There's an urgent need to invest in California's creative workforce. The toolkit contains weekly social media graphics and captions to share and resources to support the grassroots engagement. So and our beautiful so many of the imagery was hand created by Jean and excellent, really potent writing for the comms team, Eddie, etc. So really happy to share that and get y'all engaged. Next slide, please. And we'd love to, now we're going to get ready to advocate, but would love to get a sense of what you all are hoping to get out of joining us today, what your priorities are. If we could launch a poll and just get a sense of yeah, what your primary interest is for attending today. Great. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Okay, looks like we're getting there. All right, let's reflect. Let's see what the results are. Oh, excellent. Okay, great. All right. So I'm excited to see a number of people coming to Advocacy Day and others who are organizing meetings in district or on Zoom. This is great. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing that and we'll keep going. Next slide, please. Okay, and just to kind of reiterate why April is really critical for budget advocacy, in January, the governor issues the January budget, preliminary state budget and plans. And then what follows that are months of lobbying, advocacy, hearings, and budget requests from lawmakers, as well as the tax deadline of April 15th and determining what the revenues are going to be. That all leads up to the governor's revised budget in May, the May revise, which will be coming May 14th this year. And then after that, intense negotiations ensue until the governor, the Senate president or pro tem, and the Speaker of the Assembly arrive at a state budget on June 15th. So April is just a really critical time, and we're so grateful that you all are engaging lawmakers in this window. And then I would love to just share some context in terms of kind of the background for some of our policy priorities this year and what we see at play. Next slide, please. And first, I'd like to start with just the context of our policy framework. It's shaped by three guiding stars. We seek to promote policies that advance equity by ensuring access to arts and culture and the fair distribution of resources for all people and all parts of our state. And we seek to protect or increase investment in our field and prioritize those investments that are directed to historically under-resourced communities or marginalized communities. And we also seek to diversify sources of funding for our field by supporting or developing cross-sector policymaking and funding opportunities. And we seek to advance the sustainability of members of our field with policies that make it possible for arts workers and organizations to sustain their practices and build thriving livelihoods. And this framework is interrogated and renewed through periodic strategic planning, as well as our year-round engagement with individuals, artists, networks, organizations, and coalitions, as we learn from how things are, how you all are being impacted and seeking solutions through state policy. Next slide. Our field survey is one of those key engagement activities, and these are the top four priorities that surfaced in the 2024 survey. And these four priorities: increasing funding to artists and cultural organizations through the CAC, diversify and increase sources of state funding for the arts through cross-sector initiatives, increase access to housing and space, affordable, and furthering the conversation about the need for a social safety net programs for the self-employed. Those are policies that are informing both our priorities this year, as well as what we are educating lawmakers about and what policy solutions we are trying to build. Next slide. Thank you. And so just some high-level headlines impacting this legislative session. One is it's an election year. Most of you are probably well aware. The governor's office is up for election. The whole state assembly and half of the Senate, 20 of the Senate seats are up for re-election. And what we've learned is that this can really influence or impact decision making on the part of lawmakers in terms of what they support, et cetera, as you can imagine. There's also new leadership in the Senate. Senate Pro Tem Monique Limon, she's a nonprofit champion from the Central Coast and working to build relationships with her office. And also a lot of our, several of our longstanding key arts champions are leaving the legislature. So this is a really critical time to build relationships and keep the conversation going and are starting new ones with new leaders. And then, of course, the federal funding uncertainty, which is affecting state government and local government, as well as arts nonprofits and folks in our field. And the state is talking a lot about the structural budget deficit that's expected over the next couple of years. So these are all kind of pressing on lawmaker decision making. And then also just wanted to give a quick update on some of the arts cuts that we experienced in 2024 or 25. The California Arts Council, at that time, the budget was reduced by $5 million to $21 million for 2 years. In the governor's budget, it was back up to 24 million, not 25, but 24 million. So that went back to its baseline. The museum grants program remains closed and there's no reopening timeline. That's especially problematic because of the federal pressures on museums and other humanities organizations funding. So this is something we really want to figure out a way to address. And then the Arts in the Parks grant program is in its final year, but there's no new funding allocated for it. So it will be its last year. Next slide, please. And the key context that we're really working in is that, and we can't talk enough about, is how California's investment in the arts is not matching the impact of its creative economy, with the arts and culture being at the core of that. Some of the figures you've probably seen if you've been with us before, some data from 2023 Bureau of Economic Analysis that was published in 2026. The California's creative economy generates $289 billion in economic impact, and it drives 7.5% of the state economy compared to 4% nationally. So it's really important in our state. Our state is number 3 in the nation in terms of the percentage of the state economy that falls in the creative economy, that is driven by the creative economy. Supports 821,000 jobs. We're number 1 in the US in arts jobs per capita, but we are 35th in the nation in per capita spending on the arts through California Arts Council, the state arts agency. And that is the budget for what's called local assistance grants. Those are the grants that they adjudicate and distribute across the field. And you can see in the graph there that funding history has been precipitously low for a good period of time there. 2000, that year was the highest budget level that the California Arts Council was ever at, 30.7 million, which is almost 60 million in today's dollars. And then for 10 years, it was just $1 million. And then we've been incrementally climbing up from that, but we flatlined in 2018, remaining roughly around 25 million, now 24 with that dip for the past 2 years. But in that time, since 2000, the state budget has tripled. So California's investment was not enough to begin with, and it has not kept up. And so we feel very confident about the story that we're telling about right-sizing the California Arts Council budget. Next slide, please. And just wanted to highlight some of the accomplishments that we all achieved together in last year. Advocates saved funding for the Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund. That was a payroll reimbursement program set up by the state through a California Office of Small Business Advocates to reimburse payroll expenses for small performing arts organizations, 2 million or less, those budgets. Actors Equity is our lead partner on that, and then also Theater Producers of Southern California, Theater Bay Area, and a whole coalition of performing arts organizations. That the governor's budget last year in January allocated 11.6 million for the program, and then in the May revise took it back. And so in that window of May and June, advocates fiercely worked to get that money back, claw that back from the state, and both on the grass tops and grassroots level. That was a very, very successful. And just also to reiterate, we have to pay attention in that window from May to June. So please stay tuned. And then also the mural bill, SB 456, authored by Senator Angelique Ashby. This fixed a regulation, and this fixed a regulation in California law that was requiring muralists to carry a very burdensome and expensive contractor's license to be able to execute government-funded public art. This law was always on the books, but it was cities and counties were put on notice that they were not in compliance, and it shut down grant making and hiring of artists for murals. And so we co-sponsored this bill with the League of California Cities, and were able to get that passed. And thank you to all of you who participated in that advocacy. Next slide. And I also want to lift up that advocates have had a tremendous impact over the past 5 years, achieving significant cultural policy wins, 6 of them in total. One, reopening guidelines for the arts in 2020. That was a really big accomplishment. 2021 saw the passage of the California Creative Workforce Act, the first of its kind in the nation, establishing workforce development for our sector as a state priority. In 2020 through 2022, Prop 28 passed, a game-changing ballot measure that voters wanted to ensure that adequate funding was allocated for arts education in California schools. We'll hear more about that from Abe. And also the Equitable Payroll Fund, it was passed as a program in 2022, passed into law that program was needed. And then in 2023, $1 million for the state's first ever creative economy plan. And also in that year, AB 812, a law that authorized local governments with cultural districts to set aside affordable units for artists, eligible artists. That's raised, the governor, when he signed that bill, said, I'm unlikely to, designate other groups as needing, being prioritized for affordable housing, but this is a statewide concern, artist housing. So, and then also the mural bill, we talked about that. So we did it. We're building awareness, momentum, power, and change, and just really want to celebrate that. Next slide. Another accomplishment really is how advocates across the state participated in California Jobs First. This is the governor's Regions Up approach, designating 13 regions across the state and funding economic development plans that were meant to be inclusive, equity, environment, and economy, addressing those issues. And of those 13 plans, Californians for the Arts partnered with California Forward in prepping advocates to participate in this planning process. And the results were pretty remarkable. 7 of the 13 regional plans identify arts and culture as a strategic focus sector. And 3 other plans mention arts and culture as a strategic possibility. They analyze and identify some strategies related to arts and culture. And then 6 of the 13 regions are funding arts-centered initiatives so far. And then arts and what was all really jumps out is that arts and culture strategies were really prevalent in rural plans. And this visible presence of the importance of arts and culture in these plans led the governor to identify the creative economy as a strategic sector to strengthen in his California Jobs First blueprint. So great job, and would love to keep supporting folks and staying engaged in local and regional economic development planning. Next slide. So this year, we're focused on 2 key budget asks. Next slide. The first is our campaign to secure $50 million in ongoing funding for the California Arts Council. Then catching the wave of this year being the agency's 50th birthday. In 2025, the agency received over $90 million in eligible grant requests with only $21 million to distribute. Assembly members Chris Rogers, along with Chris Ward, and Senator Smallwood Cuevas, both parties submitted budget requests for the $50 million that with bipartisan support. There were 20 signers on the Assembly and 8 on the Senate request. And also Senator Smallwood Cuevas's request identified wanting a $10 million allocation to cultural districts in that $50 million. And so we really we're really insisting that in this tough budget year, this isn't really a huge ask, and it's really about right-sizing the agency's budget so that it can adequately serve the field. And we encourage you to stay tuned on our Take Action website for updates. This is going to be very fluid in the next couple of months, and would love your engagement and support in this work. We actually, and then the second budget ask is $40 million to reinstate the Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund. This was implemented in this year, and it was essentially a pilot year. There wasn't any planned additional funding. And what we learned that we partnered with Cal OSBA on the implementation, that there was 4 times the demand in terms of eligible applications than the funding that was available. And that's interesting because when the budget requests for this program were initially made a couple of years ago, the request for this program was $60 million. And so again, in this first year, it was only 11.6 million that was able to go to 100 awardees. And again, the demand was so great that the portal closed within days of opening. But the inaugural round of the program was super powerful. Zero fraud, broad geographic reach, and proven job saving outcomes. And so we want this program to get funded again. Small nonprofit performing arts organizations, theaters, orchestras, dance companies, our live performance groups are vital to California's creative communities. And we've got a couple of champions and two budget requests in from the legislature, one from Assemblymember Matt Haney and then Senator Susan Rubio, both submitted budget request letters with sign-ons from other legislatures. So Actors Equity is leading the advocacy, and we're partnering along with Theater Producers of Southern California, Theater Bay Area, and again, the wider Performing Arts SB 116, that's the original bill name, coalition. And then should this be in play and in the budget, we're going to be requesting cleanup language for the bill. Our team learned a lot about some confusion in the law and different ways to implement it and improve on it going forward. So again, really hope that you participate in that. And when you are meeting with your lawmakers in April, that you seek their support for both of those asks. Next slide, please. Additionally, California cultural districts are proving to be really important to state lawmakers. This program was established with a law back in 2015, and it launched in 2017 with 14 designated districts that were with a 5-year pilot. Conceived as a 5-year pilot. And then finally, in that 5th year, 2022, was the first time that funding was allocated for the program. And initially it was $30 million, but that was reduced through budget negotiations to $10 million. And 2023, that law about artist housing was passed in relation to California cultural districts. And that's because lawmakers toured around the state to visit the districts. And we're hearing from artists how so many of us are at risk from displacement from our communities and even from the state because of affordability issues. So in 2026, the legislature, the California Arts Council, this is their program. It's a California Arts Council program. And they designated 10 new districts, and which is super exciting. And then in relation to that, a couple of budget asks have come from that. Senator Ben Allen from the Santa Monica area has requested $30 million to fund just the cultural district program. And Assemblymember Chris Ward from the San Diego area made a request for $20 million for the program. In conversations, we're prioritizing the 50 and 50 budget ask because stating that funding could serve, because that funding would go to the whole field and could have a carve out for cultural districts, could include funding cultural districts. But really the goal is to increase the overall budget for the state agency for the long term so that can deliver on the results of all of its programs. Next slide. Great. And then there are a number of bills that we're tracking. Things are still pretty fluid with legislation right now. That all kind of closes. Bills get really voted in, finalized and voted in later in the summer. But the things that we're tracking are anything related to AI and how that impacts artistic production and artists, performing artists, etc. Also, ticketing legislation, trying to fair practices in event ticketing, historic preservation tax credits, nighttime economy bill, and then the cultural districts, those budget asks that we just talked about. And then there's also a couple of license plates bills funding cultural funding cultural aspects, and we're learning more about those. So and then state reform for nonprofits, a really interesting bill introduced by Senator McNerney that Cal Nonprofits is the sponsor of to establish a nonprofit an office of nonprofit profit empowerment at the state for better coordination between different state agencies and nonprofits. And so when as we decide what with our policy committee what we are supporting, et cetera, we will be adding those fact sheets from our advocacy partners to the advocacy resources in the event that you also want to be talking about some of this legislation in your meetings. And then other issue areas that we're trying to advance conversationally with both lawmakers and state committee staffers are what are the next steps for the Creative Economy Strategic Plan and making sure that that gets funding that it needs. Integrating arts into California health policy. We have a one sheet on that that I'll reference in a little bit. But that's really we're highlighting that as kind of a culmination of a couple of years of knowledge building, thanks to the leadership of Jennifer Kuo on the call, in terms of our organization trying to wrap our experience around what's possible, what's the data, what are the impacts, et cetera. That's a conversation that we intend to advance and look for policy solutions for, as well as housing, portable social safety net benefits, and then arts and climate funding for artists and organizations working in that space. And then a next slide, and we'll close out. And I'd love to turn the conversation over to my partner and our special guest, Abe Flores, the Deputy Director of Create California.
Hi, folks. Tracy, thank you so much for having me. Team, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to start with just saying I have a lot of information and not a lot of time, so I'm going to go big picture. But here's the pitch to our Arts Ed Precon. If you join us at the Arts Ed Precon, we could go as in detail as you all want. You could sign up, go on the website. We have some spaces still available. Also want to preface with the bills I'm going to mention are the ones that we're currently tracking. We have not officially set our positions on these bills. We have a process. We should confirm those in the next week or so. But at Arts Advocacy Day, you all will have a handout like the previous years with the bills, with the budget ask, all detailed there. But what I'm going to be providing here is a kind of an overview of what our priorities are and the areas are. There we go. So Prop 28, as Tracy mentioned, is a game changer. That is our focus, ensuring that it is implemented with fidelity, meaning that it's actually expanding arts education programming as it is intended. Just a quick thing is about $1 billion a year. I believe this year is around 1.2 something. Ongoing funding goes to every single public school and annual funding, and is meant to supplement arts education programs, meaning increase funding for those programs. So the quick context for Prop 28 is that some districts are doing really great. They're using the funds to hire new teachers, to expand programs, increase instructional time, but implementation across the state has been uneven. That is not the case for every single school district. So as the state enters the next phase of implementation, we're looking at providing clearer guidance, which is some school districts have been asking for, improving the educator workforce, improving technical assistance, and getting better data to ensure that the law achieves its full potential, particularly for students in historically underserved communities. So our overall policy goal, everything that we're kind of looking at, is to strengthen the implementation of Prop 28 to ensure the act delivers on its promise of expanding equitable access to arts education for every public school student in California. So the first area that we're looking at is around clarity. We want to provide clear statutory or administrative guidance so districts can confidently invest Prop 28 funds to expand arts programs without delaying implementation. A lot of our conversations with the field, there's been some confusion over some of the requirements, leading to some districts not spending down the money. We do not want to leave any money on the table for arts education. Every year, money is distributed to school districts. Every school district has 3 years to spend down that allocation. This, at the end of this school year, is the end of the first allocation. So meaning if a school district did not spend all of its money, it is taken back by the state, put back into a big pool, and then redistributed. And we don't want to see that. There is a bill that has just been introduced, AB 2440, which will provide an opportunity to provide some clarity. We'll be working with our offices, with Murasuchi's office, to provide the clarity that the field has been asking for. The other areas that we're looking at is strengthening the arts educator workforce pipeline. We want to invest in preparation, recruitment, retention strategies to address shortages of credentialed arts teachers. One of the biggest challenges that we've been hearing from the field in implementing Prop 28 are the need for credentialed arts teachers, specifically in dance and theater. So we want to support anything that helps strengthen the arts education pipeline. So the bill that we're looking at is AB 1904, which will support apprenticeship programs for teachers, also supporting Governor Newsom's proposal to invest an additional $250 million to continue the teacher residency program, and also recommending to increase of $100 million to fund the Golden State Teacher Grant Program. And again, I'll go into all of this at the pre-con. We could talk more and get into the nitty-gritty. We also want to expand state support for Prop 28 implementation. We want to increase the capacity of CDE to support districts in navigating Prop 28 planning, compliance, and effective program implementation. Prop 28 is $1 billion a year and currently has one staff at CDE supporting compliance and helping school districts with waivers and all of the things. So we want to make sure that there is enough support. We're also eyeing kind of in the future is how to provide more assistance, technical assistance, supports for smaller rural school districts in program planning, strategic planning, program development, all of those things. So one big idea is just how to create more supports for school districts to implement arts education programming in their context. The other thing that we're looking at, and also just want to clarify, we don't have a bill for this. This is right now, we're just talking about the need for that. The other area is improving statewide arts education course data. So we want to ask the CDE to publish statewide secondary course data that has not been released since 2019. This data will help us understand what the impact of our Prop 28 has been at the secondary level. We want to expand reporting of courses to the elementary level to track arts course availability, student enrollment, and equitable access to better assess the impact of Prop 28 investments. And also we are exploring access indicators for arts education on the California school dashboard. Again, we don't have bills for these. These are ideas that we're socializing, but really we want to have better data so we really understand what the impact of Prop 28 has been. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to the team.
Great. Thank you, Abe.
Thanks, Abe. Bye.
So the resources that we're sharing that we put together basically synthesize all of the policy information into things that will be usable and at your fingertips. I'm going to review some of those now, but both of these resources are applicable to whether you are coming to the Capitol with us in Sacramento, or if you plan on organizing meetings locally or on Zoom. And so next slide, please. So there is our guide to successful advocacy is available to you, which is everything you need for do-it-yourself meetings, templates on requesting meetings, structuring structuring conversations with lawmakers, tips and resources, etc. And then we have a public folder of lawmaker resources, which I will dive into. And then also office hours. Drop in, join us on one of your Friday lunches on either April 10th or the 17th. And we're there to answer questions for advocates and captains, any question you might have. Next slide. And before I get into the details about the resources, I just wanted to also just share some highlights from the Guide to Successful Advocacy. In terms of how you might approach preparing for your meetings and then taking that relationship building to the next level. We really, really recommend that you research your lawmakers, and you'll see in the lawmaker resources, we actually have some insights on lawmaker voting history to share, and visit their socials and their websites, find out what's important to them. Are they on any key committees, etc. And develop your case making. We find, we use a lot of data and all of that, and that can be really potent and really powerful, but really want you all to trust that your knowledge of what's happening on the ground, your personal stories of impact, that's really makes our challenges and conditions come alive in the imagination of lawmakers. So as you're prepared to meet with lawmakers, really also prepare some of those personal impact stories to back up the asks that you're making of them. And really recommend checking out Americans for the Arts, Arts Impact Explorer. It's a resource. We can go on it. And let's say you want to provide some data points and insights about how the arts impact a particular public issue like public safety, public health, social justice. It's a wheel, and you can select a topic, and it'll give you data and talking points from research across the country to back up some of your points and your framing of your impact stories in the language of public benefit. And then organize talking points. Go into a meeting with a plan. If there's a group of you, get organized together. Identify who has stories that relate to which particular policy asks you want to make. And really encourage you to it's great. You can sit down with lawmakers and just educate them on how your what's happening in the district and in your organization or in your practice and how you're being impacted by things. That is good. That is enough. If you can add into that an ask, an action for them to take, whether it's a policy or budget ask, or if it's can you please look into this, or what other agencies should be thinking about this? They want to engage in solutions with you. And next level, really keep in mind building a relationship, creating connection by also being interested in their interests and priorities, being on time. That's really respectful. And have a thank you. Research what they've been up to and what's important to them, and be able to thank them and let them know you're aware of their leadership. And come with a collaborative spirit and a willingness to partner. This is kind of the paradigm shifting, the heavy lift of paradigm shifting that you have all already been doing in advocacy, which is we are part of the solution. And so coming with that spirit, really demonstrating that in your conversations with lawmakers is super powerful and important. And really recommend sustaining a connection. Don't just show up once a year with an ask. If you can manage to invite them to your events, share your achievements with them. Follow up after, letting them know what's happening with your organization or your work. Send thank yous, things like that. And then also just know that you're really the answer. You're the expert. You have insights that they are searching for. You make what's happening in their district come alive, like I said, in their imagination. And our work is the source of civic pride. This is the thing that I think is most powerful, that I get really excited about, is for those of us who are working working in the arts in ways that interact with community or with the economy. We can talk about those in a way that lawmakers are also working on pride for their district. Like we all work in a medium of pride, and that's a real shared connection. And you make a difference. And so sharing what you know is so insightful and powerful. Next slide, please. I really want to share that successful advocacy is actually kind of iterative. It can start with just building a communication channel and a positive relationship, and it can grow into you're educating them, changing how they think or understand the value and positive impacts that artists, culture bearers, and organizations that we have. And you've educated them on the issues affecting us. That's another iteration, right? Shifting kind of how they think and their understanding of things, or shifting even their position. It might look like, shifting their awareness, how they talk about issues. You might see them start to circulate things in their social media channels that relate to language that we've introduced to them, shifting their attitude towards the arts, their promise to take action or on our behalf, or they're taking the lead on policy change. All positive shifts are a success. And if you presented them with an action that they can take, and so that they know there are avenues, even if they don't take that action, but then and also creating a champion, creating somebody that's a go-to person that's like, yeah, I'm willing to take this on. And all of this kind of thinking about this is applicable for local elected officials all the way up to state and even federal, and even staff. Staff within elected bodies are really, really important. They often move around. Legislators might run for office in a local office, then end up on the state. So building this on all levels of government is really powerful for our field. And then next slide. So unpacking and taking a tour of the lawmaker meeting resources. There's a public folder that's available to everyone in the Advocates Toolkit for Advocacy Day and for folks doing meetings in district or on Zoom. And in the folder is lawmaker leave behinds and one sheets, and I'll show you one of those, talking points, script building template, and insights into lawmakers' roles and past create cultural policy engagement, and then a link to the captain's meeting reports. And I'd love to show you a couple of the documents. Let's see if I can get. Gosh, I am really having a hard time having Zoom see my. Aha, there we go. Great. Are folks able to see this?
We see the lawmaker other.
Great.
Yes.
So this is an example of one of the info sheets, what we're calling the leave behinds. These are, you can either, if you're coming to Advocacy Day, they'll be in packets for you, or you will can email them you can email them in advance to your lawmakers to let them know what you want to talk about. And they provide kind of a graphic layout and case making, something for them to back up your meetings. And in the folder, you'll see there's an arts and public health version, two of the budget asks, the CAC and PAPF. And then also there's a one sheet on cultural districts, since they're so interested in that, giving them background on the program and the fact that there is no funding for it. So those are available to you. There also is a talking points document, and this is basically, it gathers together some of the data points in the meeting in those info sheets. It lays out some meeting agendas, timing that you might want to prepare for in terms of making the best use of whatever time you have with your lawmaker. And then guidelines for preparing. And then talking points, right now, these are, there's a section on kind of setting the table. They might be different data points or approaches to how you want to kick the meeting off, how you want to thank them, context for our field. There is a script template that you can cut and paste any of these talking points in, and as you get organized with your group. And then after setting the table, there's pages on the budget asks, the 1550 for the California Arts Council and the PAPF. Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund, and we'll be adding pages with Abe's Creates work as well. So this will be available in the lawmaker meeting resources, and you'll make your own copy, and you can work on that document. And the Lawmaker Insights, this is just a go-to tool for researching your lawmakers, how to find them, what committees affect different parts of arts and culture policy or funding. And these link out to the committee rosters. And then what the leadership is in the legislature in terms of different, both within the houses and then the committee leadership. And then both insights into the Senate and Assembly members' art support history or engagement and their roles in different committees. It kind of brings all that information together. And this is alphabetical, based on alphabetical for you. So this is all available to you. And I believe I can stop sharing. And yeah, and then I'd love to turn the microphone over to Jenica and the Advocacy Day team for shifting into advocacy resources. I'm sorry, Advocacy Day orientation. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. What really stood out to me from what you were saying earlier was we are the solution. And I think that's a great segue into what I'm about to talk about, which is becoming a member. If you are not a member already, become a part of the solution, support our organizations. As we all know, the arts, advocating for the arts is more important than ever with everything going on nationally and, in our regions and locally. So become a member, join us. As you know, the summit is happening in a couple weeks, and any member gets a discount. So it's $325, I believe, for a member ticket. So it's a great deal for you. And we're also doing a member meetup right before the summit. So if you want to become a member, meet all of the other members on April 19th. That's a great event to attend as well, and network and get to know other folks in the States. So you can join us, you can learn more, stay connected, and I think we can now talk about Advocacy Day. Fantastic. All right, y'all. So Advocacy Day, next slide, please. So we have this amazing map that Jean started for us, and the link is in the chat as well if you want to follow along or see what it looks like on your phone. So there's different pinpoints. We're going to be entering at N Street and 13th Street. That's where our check-in is at. There's a lot of other markers on this map just for orientation's sake. Some of our hotels are listed on there. Some of our other events for the summit are also listed on there, just so you get a sense of where everything is. And the park is about 10 minutes away by walking to our lawmaker meeting offices. So that's at 1021 O Street. And so take you about 10 minutes. We are going to march. A lot of us are going to be marching from Capitol Park and doing a bit of a walk there. But if you have to get to your meeting, it'll be about a 10-minute walk. So that'll give you a sense. And then you can see also some local cafes in yellow around there. There's some parking in blue in those pinpoints. So that'll kind of help orient folks. But and it looks like Tracy is going to be heading out soon. So, she's out in the field going to one of our ACCM launch events. So she has to hop off soon as well. So thanks again, Tracy. Next slide. Oh yeah, we can go back just one. Thanks. All right, so just to give us a bit more of a sense of what this day is all about, if you don't already know. So really want you guys to check in. I'm at Capitol Park, so we can say hi to you all. You can find your captain, get ready for the rally. We'll have everyone, move up to the front of near the stage area for that rally, see performances. see all the awardees that are being presented with awards, and performers are going to be there. All of us are going to be there. And so check in at 8:30 to 9:30. The rally is going to be at Capitol Park from 9 to about 10:30, give or take. And then from there, we're going to be marching to the lawmaker offices at 1021 O Street. And then, as you know, some meetings are being scheduled around that time. We want to meet with as many lawmakers as possible, so it just depends on timing. But approximately, our meetings are going to be happening 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we want y'all to wear dark purple if you have it, or if you prefer to wear business casual, totally get it. Wear comfortable shoes as we'll be walking around. We'll see you all there. And then also lawmaker meetings, and there's the chill space. So we're actually having our meetings and the chill space in the same building. So that'll make it easier for you if you want to take a break, go up to the 7th floor, stop by. Jen's going to share more about some of the opportunities there if you registered late or want to join one of our outreach teams. Day of, and say hi to some more lawmaker offices on top of the other meetings you're joining. We'll talk more about that next. Next slide. All right, just wanted to let you all know about some of our resources for Arts Advocacy Day. So we have our info website, which we'll drop in the chat. Thanks, Charlie. And you can learn more about Advocacy Day. We have, specific pages for captains and advocates, and also your meetings. So that's super helpful for you to know about, and super useful if you want to spread the word that way too. We have our resources folder, and that just has all of the information, like our one sheet, like everything you need to know for that day. If you just want a, quick PDF to glance at. We have our FAQs. If there are some questions you have, you can, take a look there. We have FAQs for captains and advocates this year. So the more questions you ask us, the more we can add to those docs to help, out the other folks who are joining. So, ask us those questions later. Let's see. And then we also have the Advocates Toolkit. Super helpful if you're new to advocating or coming to Advocacy Day. It's thanks to Jen and her amazing work on our Captain's Toolkit, we were able to adapt it and create this Advocates Toolkit, so it's more geared to advocates, and you can definitely take a look at your leisure. All right, next slide. All right, who to contact? There's lots of us making this happen for y'all, so just wanted to share. If you have questions, want to ask certain people, you can ask me about overall Advocacy Day logistics. Can you email me? If you have questions for Tracy about policy priorities, or just want some coaching on having a successful lawmaker meeting, you can ask her. Jennifer, our captain's queen, can ask her all about captains. And then our amazing intern, Charlie, she's manning the action inbox. She's also our action inbox queen, and you can ask her any questions there. We also have office hours if you didn't know. We have 2 more left. So April 10th and 17th, as mentioned, this great time. If you want to dive deeper into certain things about Advocacy Day, you can come join us there. Happy to help you there, answer any questions. Cool. Next slide. And I'm going to hand it over to Jen now.
Thank you, Jenica. All right, everyone. We are in our heading towards the last portion of today's webinar. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us. Hopefully you're still maybe eating lunch or just resting your eyes and listening. That's okay. This has been recorded, so it will be shared out for your review and for those that are not able to join us live right now. Okay, so talking about the Arts Advocacy Day registration website, we'll drop it in the chat. But make sure if you have not registered at all, please do so. You just click on new registration. If you have already registered, you need to make some changes. You will click on the modify registration button, and everyone's password is the same. It's going to be Summit 2026 to get back into your registration. So once you get in there, you'll see different registration type. If you plan on registering as well and going to the Summit, you can go ahead and select one of those ticketed options. And in that process, you will also be asked if you're also attending Arts Advocacy Day. If you only plan to attend the Arts Advocacy Day free event, you just select on the Advocacy Day only selection. All right, so step 3 is please select all meetings you plan to attend, even if there isn't a scheduled time yet. So how this is working is our amazing captains are really trying to lock these meeting times in. So we suggest you look on the lawmaker you are supposed to meet with in your district and just sign up for it, even though there's no time yet, just so you can hold a spot. So you'll go into your registration and mark the checkboxes next to the meeting sessions accordingly. And at the same time, you can also remove yourself to make space for others by modifying your registration. So today is April 1st, and it is the last day to make or change any of your selections on the website for any of the available spots by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, so just make sure you get whatever you need to get in by today, because starting tomorrow, the only thing you will be able to do, which we'll talk about a little later, is deselecting meetings. So just make sure if you haven't registered yet, please do so today. If you need to modify and you need to make some changes already that you know of, please go in there and do that today as well. And then step 4, after you've made your selections, you will see them on the summary page of your registration record. You should also be receiving an email confirmation too each time you make a change. And remember, you can always modify your registration at the homepage of the registration website. Okay, so we also have another web page, which is different from the registration website. On this informational web page, you'll see the list of lawmaker meetings for informational purposes, maybe for planning or seeing at a glance which meetings already have meeting times scheduled. So again, this is not the method of registering for the meetings you want to attend. We'll drop the link in the chat, and you would just go ahead and click on the drop-down menu into the meetings tab. And then once you do so, you will see a new page. Give it a moment to load. It takes a few moments to load the actual table. You'll see a lot of these purple lines. So you see the first item is a captain names will be noted next to the meeting session names. We still have a few more meeting sessions without captains, so just note that it will be noted there as well. The meeting times, once they are scheduled and confirmed, will be on the left column. And right now they're being sorted at the very bottom. So if you scroll down to that bottom of that page, you'll see the meeting times we have that captains are able to secure for now. And again, they're still rolling in. So just be sure to check back on this informational page. Then you'll see the little blue circle icon. If you click on that, you can see some of the meeting details and then an active roster if you click on that link. So right now, the active roster, you'll be able to see all the advocates registered for those meetings, their names, job titles, if they're affiliated with the organization. You can also see who's on the active roster, meaning who is allocated within the capacity of headcount, and then who's also waitlisted if applicable. Okay, so then tomorrow, starting April 2nd, in the public resources folder, there will be a Google Sheet called 2026 Contact Info of All Registered Advocates. So we know this is also a quick way for advocates to contact the captains are assigned to their meeting. And just know the captains will be reaching out to all of you to schedule some preparation meetings and just to connect with all of you. Please note in that file, we're also going to give you a sneak peek because I already have it available. So we'll drop it in the chat. In that file, there's going to be 2 tabs at the bottom, one for the Assembly Districts meeting and then the Senate District. And then you'll be able to see also on those files in red, which meetings do not have a captain yet and or a meeting time scheduled yet. So if there are any red ones that you are interested in leading that do not have captains, please feel free to reach out to me and I can provide you more information. So also on this page, you'll see at a quick glance, the captain's email addresses and phone numbers. In column D, when you click on the link, it's going to be the contact info of all attendees, including advocates and captains. So whereas the other page just show people's like affiliation and name and like the number of people, this one will include everyone's contact info. And again, these links, these are active. So when there are changes going on in the back end, it's going to be updated live. So all you have to do is go back to this and click on the click here links. These will include the active roster as well as people that are waitlisted for certain meetings. Okay. All right, so what to do if plans change starting tomorrow, April 2nd? Well, hold on a second. Come on, animation. Okay, here we go. So as of 4/2 tomorrow, you will not be able to sign up for any lawmaker meetings. However, there are several ways you can still join a meeting. Okay, so we're gonna go through some of these scenarios. So if you can no longer attend a meeting you registered for, maybe there's a time conflict with another meeting you're already in, please do so by modifying your registration. So you'll go into the registration site and you can deselect the meetings you can no longer attend. This will also help to open up that spot to others who may be on the wait list. Another scenario is that you may still want to try to attend meetings. Maybe you just found out about this event and you want to try to go. So you may want to attend a meeting that might already have a wait list, or you see that it has some open spots, but obviously you can't select to be in it. You can still select to be on the wait list. Okay, so just make sure when you are in your registration, you can click on the add me to the wait list button and you will be on there. So again, being on the wait list does not guarantee a spot. And if you don't end up being in a meeting, there's an outreach team that you can join the day of to help out with some of the distributions of the leave behind packet. And ultimately, the captains will be the one kind of managing more of the active waitlist and roster, and then kind of informing me if there are any changes. So captains, if you're on this call right now, just know that I will be emailing you tomorrow more information, and we'll also go through that more in our third training too. Okay, so if your captain is no longer to attend or serve for any reason, as we head towards Advocacy Day, just know they are responsible for finding another person to take over leading the meeting. That might be somebody on the group of advocates already registered to attend, but they will let me know as soon as possible so we can kind of transition and make the appropriate changes. If, however, one of our captains can no longer attend at the last minute for any reason, the meeting can still happen because we have that secure meeting time locked in. Maybe during the prep meeting with the captain, you may also want to come up with a plan B. Like if a captain cannot fulfill for whatever reason, who in the group that are already going to be attending, who can we default to be like a backup? So, as long as that meeting time is still locked in, this group, you can still have the meeting and just have someone else kind of fulfill that facilitator role. Again, this is something you can go through captains with your team during your prep meeting. So as much in advance, captains can switch over to someone else if they no longer can serve. So if your meeting is canceled, maybe at the last minute by the lawmaker's office, your group can still visit the office and just drop off the leave behind packet, like an outreach team. It doesn't have to be the whole group. It could just be maybe one of you, because maybe the rest of the group has other meetings to get to on their agenda. So that's also an option. And then if there are no meetings scheduled for some of the meetings that we don't have scheduled yet, if it's still the same way, or if you're an advocate who happens to just show up the day of, maybe you live locally and you want to kind of help out, you can sign up to be part of the outreach team. You can do so at the check-in in the morning at the Capitol Park, or visit the chill space inside the 1021 O Street building at these intervals of 12 p.m., 11, or 2 p.m. Then we will assign you to be an outreach team member. Basically, we'll let you know exactly which lawmaker office did not have a meeting schedule or knows time. We'll give you their suite number, the office suite, and you can go maybe by yourself or with a buddy to the lawmaker office to drop off a leave behind packet, a great way to say hello for them as well, talk to staffers, because staffers are really important as well. So outreach teams are fun. You can strike up great conversations with staff and still be able to make a difference. And then as a follow-up, please, you're welcome to share a photo on your social media channels and tag the lawmaker or staffer that you meet with. And then post-event advocates, you will all get a survey to fill out. We'd love to hear about your experiences and suggestions for next year. There will also be a link to a folder in that survey form for you to share your photos too. We would love to see them as a follow-up and be able to share it publicly with our community. And I will pause there. We will do some Q&A from everything from between the first Q&A and just what I wrapped up. So thank you all for listening. Okay, I know we got some questions.
Yes. Tell us your burning questions.
Well, I want to say I see a number of captains in the webinar today, so feel free to say hello, captains, in the chat. Thank you all for serving, and you should all be receiving emails from me with information. So thank you all for trying to lock down those meeting times, and then I will get you all of your contact information for your advocates starting tomorrow.
Cool. Wanted to introduce you all to Charlie, our amazing intern. If you haven't seen her on the office hours, she's here. She'll be there day of, so you can say hi to her. And yeah, just thank you for your help this year, Charlie.
Yes, I'm so excited. It's gonna be good to go and advocate.
Cool. Just checking the Q&A as well. I think we might got one.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. So Jennifer, thanks, Jennifer, for sharing. You wanted to reinforce that it's still ongoing with outreach to the ledge offices as a captain. Yeah, this is still, it's that building that relationship that Tracy was emphasizing earlier. This can be the beginning, it can be the continuation. And as we talk about, it's a long game. So this is a great opportunity to spread the word about the value of the arts with our lawmakers.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I also see a question in the chat from Hannah. How do we remove someone from the meeting that is no longer with the org? So Hannah, I'm guessing you clarify a little bit. Are you saying you're part of an org who has multiple members of your staff attending and they are no longer with the org? Is that correct? Feel free to put that in the chat. If so, you'll just have to email Terry Ball, who will be able to cancel that registration. Okay, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, so if Jenica or Charlie can put Terry's email address in there, and then Hannah, please just email Terry the person's information, like name and email, and then we'll be able to fix that registration. So thank you. Yes, thank you, captains, for shouting out and letting us know which lawmaker meetings you are leading.
Oh yeah, and Jennifer also mentioned in the Q&A, scheduling details can be dynamic, and that's a good tip actually. Thanks for raising that, Jennifer. Lots of cancellations can happen, meeting locations can change, times can change, so it's definitely important to remember to be flexible on that day. Be on your phone, depending on how your captain's in communication with you. They may text you, it might be on the Stova app, whatever they choose to do, but definitely have their phone numbers. Make sure you have that with you. Yeah. Right. Well, I guess maybe I'll just talk through some general tips real quick also, Jennifer. Yeah, so the other Jennifer mentioned on the Q&A, being flexible that day, arrive early to the lawmaker meeting offices building. So one thing to know, if you haven't been to that building, going through security can take a bit. So giving yourself an hour if you have it. There can be long lines through security into the building and up the elevators. So it's really important to be early, have, other folks' phone numbers. It sounds like some captains make sure to meet their team at check-in. So hence why it's really great to check in with us so you can get your groups together and find everybody, and then be able to walk together during the march, all to the lawmaker offices. What else?
Jenica, we actually had one question. Someone
great.
asked, can you talk about the pre-meetings that captains will have with their advocates? Just go over that a little bit more.
Yeah, so thank you, Captain Amy, for serving as a captain this year. So I believe you're talking about the prep meetings. And so we went over that in training number 2 last week. Those are some of the like the meeting, the ideas for the meeting structure, assigning different advocates. Yeah, so feel free to review the training number 2 recording that we have in our ACCM playlist on YouTube. And refer to my email that I sent last week as a wrap up. But basically, starting tomorrow, once you get the email addresses and phone numbers of the advocates that are currently signed up to your meetings that are assigned, feel free to contact them and then schedule a prep meeting virtually, most likely, and then kind of go over through those prep meeting guidelines that we have in the toolkit too. And yes, this recording will be shared out with everybody who is signed up for the registration of the webinar and or the registration for Advocacy Day, so that everybody will be able to watch this back. Sharing it with today's attendees. Let's see. Yes, Amy, I think if I'm understanding, yes, this will be shared with today's attendees as well. And then there was one more point I will circle back when I remember is, oh yeah, so captains, as those of you that are on the call right now, once you get the contact info, definitely empowering you to connect with your advocates, and then basically the ones that have wait lists, we'll just kind of keep in touch with each other to make sure that if you are moving someone from the wait list, to the active list or whatnot, please let me know. And one other point I forgot to make is if there are meetings with waitlists on there, and then starting tomorrow, maybe one advocate who is scheduled, maybe the first one to sign up for that meeting cannot make it anymore and there's a wait list. Once they remove themselves, automatically the first person on that wait list will be put in. So captains, for that contact info Google master spreadsheet of everyone's contact, just be sure to check that as often as you like, because it will be feeding into the live updates too. And feel free to reach out to me for more information on that. Again, it's very dynamic. Even the back end of this process is very
important. Thank you. Thank you, Jen, so much for your help with that part of our work.
Correct. Yes. And Allison, I see your question. That's definitely what I just answered. Yes. So Allison's question is, as a captain, should we continue to check the list of team members for any changes or additions after tomorrow's upload? Correct. Yeah. So it's already live right now. However, tomorrow I'll kind of, because people have until 11:59 p.m. today to make changes or maybe sign up for the first time. So we're going to officially launch it tomorrow with the contact form, but just know that will also kind of still change as people, deselect themselves or want to be added to a wait list.
I see, Erica, you have a question about membership. Let me look into that right now.
Jean, did you want to mention anything about just a quick recap in terms of any highlights from the Amplify toolkit that you hopefully want people to kind of take note of?
Yeah, I can once again share a little bit about the Amplify toolkit. Also, if anyone's curious, all of these backgrounds are, you can find them in both the Amplify toolkit as well as our earlier toolkit, the Joy Action Power one, which you can all find links to that in our ACCM webpage. That's stayforthearts.org/ACCM 2026, probably linked somewhere in this chat. This month, it's the first day of ACCM, so we've been doing a social media campaign highlighting all the different why arts is important, and you can find a lot of even today, if you look in on our social medias, we posted our first post talking just about boundless culture and creativity, which is the theme for this week. So as we continue this week of April, you can continue to post more of our provided graphics and social media captions. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll go ahead and drop that my email in the chat, so you can just follow up with any questions. Yep.
Great. Wonder, seems like maybe we don't have as many questions. Looking at our Q&A chat, looks like we're good there. Well, are we finishing early? Amazing. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about all of our policy priorities for the year, and getting ready for Advocacy Day, and getting registered and meeting with all your lawmakers. Obviously, this is very important work. Join us as a member if you're not yet a member. It's also a way of advocating your membership support. So we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Yes, thank you. And one quick last thing is I forgot to mention in the beginning for the poll, it looked like some of you were also leading in-person or in-district meetings, whether they be in person or Zoom. So please email me that information. We want to definitely capture that. And then so for the rest of y'all that we'll see in Sacramento, see you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you all.